In this video, I want to explore the possibility of being in an extremely challenging situation where it's like you're at the extreme edge of your map of the world and somehow you have to step into the unknown, not really knowing what to do, which forces you to access and mobilize your inner resources and puts you into a hyper-learning mode. So what types of real-world situations could push you towards the edge of your map? Let's say you have an addiction to alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, gambling, and it's destroying your relationships, your career, your health, and your life. Let's say you have a serious eating disorder, binge eating, bulimia, anorexia, overeating, and it is destroying your body. Let's say you suffer from a serious problem with anxiety, social anxiety, eco-anxiety, and you feel immobilized by your emotions. Let's say you lose your job, you lose your business, your partner walks out on you. There is a catastrophe. Now, what do you do to get yourself into a positive frame of mind? So in each of these examples, the person is faced with an unknown. So let's start with the map and the territory metaphor. So there's the actual territory, and then there is the map that you have. Now, if we're talking about the real world, then there is a territory that you have explored. And as a result, you've formed a mental map. And then there is the rest of the world that you have yet to explore. So you could explore Google Maps. And from this, you could learn a lot. But until you actually visit the actual territory, it's just an image in your mind. So let's say you have never traveled further than 100 kilometers from your home in your entire life. But now, for some reason, you get curious about what lies beyond the boundaries, or perhaps a life circumstances forces you to travel for some reason or another. Now, this may not be as easy as you think. You may be faced with a totally different world. The weather could be very different, the food could be different, and people could be of a different race, ethnicity, culture, language, and they may even drive on the other side of the road. So what do? You could retreat back into familiar territory, or you could face up to the challenge, which you may find exciting, but on the other hand, you may find it physically, emotionally, and mentally draining. So you have two choices. One is to go back home to what is familiar, or you could do what it takes to explore the new territory. So we start by doing a future selfie exercise. That is, using the present state to desired outcome model and the NLP well-formed outcome questions to define your goals. Now, if you're going to coach yourself, then I would suggest that you lay your future self exercise on a large sheet of butcher's paper. So just to summarize the procedure, list your present state down the left side of the page, give it today's date, then you list your desired outcomes at the top right of the page, about 3 months in the future, or whatever date suits you, right? And then bottom right of the page, draw a box for your to-do list. And then using questions, statements, commands, and keeping the well-formed outcome questions in mind, work through the steps and stages that are required for you to move from the present state to your desired outcome. And whenever you do a future selfie exercise, you should exploit the power of questions. As Richard Bandler said at one time, if you can't say it, then you won't get it. Jesus says, ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door shall be opened for you. Whereas Osho, a contemporary mystic, says, if you can see the door, then just open it and walk through. So for the purpose of this discussion, you can ask questions that are about your map of the world, or you can ask questions that are at the edge or outside of your map of the world. And this is where it gets very challenging because you're moving into unknown territory. The next point is that you can ask questions of others or of yourself. let's say for the purpose of this discussion, you're going to be asking questions of yourself, and you want to or need to make some major life changes and transform yourself into a totally new person in a totally new environment with totally different types of people. I was getting carried away with the adverbs there. Anyway, so keeping in mind that we think by asking questions, making statements and giving commands, we start by asking questions. And keep in mind that there are many types of questions. There's direct questions, as in yes-no questions, leading questions, open-ended questions, and meaning-type questions, which Michael Hall's quite well known for. So keep in mind that you can also ask a question, get an answer, and then ask a question about the answer. Now, the simplest questions are what, when, why, how, what if, and who. I think I got them all. For example, what do you want? What else do you want? What would that look like, sound like, and feel like? When do you want it? Where do you want it? With whom do you want it? Why do you want it? How are you going to get the outcome? It's a big one. And who could help you? You know, what if you did this or that, or spoke to this person or that person, and so on? Now, there are literally dozens of questions that you can ask of yourself. And let it be a free-flowing brainstorming, but periodically check the types of questions that you're asking, and then try asking different types of questions. Okay. So you have a situation to deal with. You've asked yourself a lot of different types of questions. You've written down some notes on a large piece of paper. You have an idea of your desired outcome. You have an idea of some possible solutions and some possible tasks that could help you to implement the changes. And now comes the hard part, actually taking action. So what are you going to take action on? If you're making a massive change, where do you start? And keep in mind that if you're dealing with something at the edge of your map, then you need to be aware that you are at the edge of your map, that you could be considering what may be considered an unrealistic goal. But as I stated in a previous video, unrealistic goals can be attained if you are aware that it is an unrealistic goal, and you remain aware that you are at the edge of your map, and that you need to keep on asking questions. Then the next step for you is to take some action so that you get real-world feedback. And you might be surprised at the results that you get. Now, keep in mind that in order to achieve an unrealistic goal or a super stretch goal, that you're going to have to go into uncharted territory, which is outside of your familiarity zone, commonly known as your comfort zone, which could be extremely challenging and feel very uncomfortable. So as you work through the future selfing exercise, ideas come to mind. You write them down. You become aware of the action steps, which you write on your to-do list. All is good, except that you still have to take action. And this is where it could be very challenging, because in a sense you are faced with being, as I said before, at the edge of your map. Now what you need to understand is now is the time to take action. Now is the time to take action. That is, by doing the future selfing exercise, you have begun a communication with your unconscious mind. The changes that need to occur are in the front of your mind. And this is when you need to take action, because if you put the future selfing exercise aside for a week, you may have to start all over again. And you will find that when you take action, you will get feedback from the real world. It could be positive or it could be negative. How it plays out in the world could be quite different to how you thought about it in your mind. Your mind has the map. The world is the territory. So if the result is different to what you expected, then you update your map. You now have a new present state and a new desired outcome. Take action once again and update your map from the real world feedback. Of course, you have to learn how to deal with the risks and the pain of taking action. Sort of a topic for another video. And you need procedures and strategies for dealing with the feedback as quickly and efficiently as possible. Over time, you will get stronger. And what I'd like you to understand is that you need to get out of your head and get grounded in sensory experience. You see, you get those people who say, I'm going to walk up to that person and then I'm going to say this and then they're going to say that and then I'm going to say this and then they're going to say that. Well, this is just a mind read. It's a hallucination. It is not until you actually go and talk to the person do you get the real world feedback and then the opportunity to update your mental map. So you don't really know what is going to happen until you take some action. So you're faced with a challenge. You have to make some changes. You have no choice. And being at the edge of your map means you may not really know what skills you need to develop. It may not be until you have randomly explored something or other that you come to realize what it is that you need to learn. And then you can formally seek some training or coaching. So it's okay to not know what you need to know or what skill set you need to develop. However, you do need to be aware that you have to take some action. And from the feedback of your action, you will discover what it is that you need to learn. So if you're looking for some face-to-face coaching, then send me an email from my website and feel free to join us over at the Facebook NLP Hypnotherapy group and talk to you soon.